Friends, and welcome back. So what we have learned in the previous session that we have a multiple different environments, and the performance tuning and the value of the parameters is completely depend on the different environments. So in production you may need the higher values, but in non-production you may need the lower values because your user base and the load in your system may be less in the non-production environment. Right. So the parameter value would be completely different. And in WebSphere, as a starting point, there is an inbuilt script that is provided by the IBM, okay, that you can execute once your environment is installed, configured, up and running. Again, based on your environment. If you are in a production environment, then you have to run that script in some different way. But if it is a non-production environment, then you have to run that script in some different way. So that I am going to explain in this particular session. Okay, so what is IBM recommended script? Okay, so this is the IBM inbuilt script that come by default with your IBM, which is with the name of apply perf tuning template.py. Okay, so this is an IBM WebSphere supplied Jython WLST style administrative script that is used to apply recommended performance tuning setting automatically to a WebSphere. So WLST is a WebLogic scripting tool that is used in the WebLogic application server. Okay, this WebLogic application server, we do the scripting with the help of WST based on the Jython. So same this Jython based script is this particular script. Okay, so Jython is something combination of your Java plus Python. Okay, that means combination of Python and Java. Okay, so this script, okay, by default provided by the IBM WebSphere. So whenever your environment is built up and running, after that you can run this script at least to apply the initial recommended settings for your WebSphere environment. Okay, so that means instead of changing manually the parameter value one by one, this script apply predefined performance tuning templates. Okay, so you don't need to apply these values one by one. There is a inbuilt templates are there. You can execute that, and it automatically set the multiple values for you. You don't need to worry about that one. Okay, but still, as I said, this is the initial point and the beginning point. Okay, that will give you the initial optimum values. But again, on top of that, based on your environment, load, and application, okay, you may further need to tune your application, and how to do that, that I will cover in this particular series. Okay, so this apply perf tuning template.py script, it is associated template and properties files are located in WebSphere home and bin directory. Okay, so now this is a script, okay, which is calling multiple subscripts, okay, where the different properties files or maybe the template files, okay, which contain the parameter values according to the different environment it is going to apply. Okay, that means this is a single script which is going to call some multiple other templates or properties file when you are going to run this particular script. Okay, and all these scripts and values are available inside your WebSphere bin directory. That means your installation location of WebSphere, and inside that you will have a bin folder, and inside bin folder you will see this particular script. Okay, and it applies recommended setting for your development, production, and ready to use server setup. So as I said, each and every environment will have a different value set of values because we have a different set of load and different set of users in the different environments, right? So mostly you when we talk about the environments, okay, we referred environment as non-production environment and production environment. So production is your live environment, non-production is contain the multiple development, testing, quality, and then your pre-prod and some more environments are there. But sometimes this pre-prod also referred as the prod because whenever we move any code in production, we first test in the pre-production. Okay, so that means whatever the tuning that you are going to apply in the production, we apply in the pre-prod as well. Okay, so depend on the organization, this pre-prod may also have the same setup or architecture just like the production. So in this situation, you have to apply the same tuning here and here as well. Even not you are not going to apply it here, that is fine because the number of user base will not be just like production. Okay, but the environmental variables or the configurations has to be consistent across your production and pre-prod environment. But apart from that, your development, testing, quality, and maybe you have some more environments, pre-production environment. Okay, so there you can apply the different settings which is specifically available for the development environment. So we have a three set of values okay, in the WebSphere. The one is for development environment, second is for production environment, and third is ready to use server setup. Okay, so this ready to use server setup is just like the initial basic environment which is built when we install the WebSphere. Okay, so production environment, you always go with the production. If you are installing WebSphere for some demo and testing purpose, you can use the ready to use server startup script. But apart from that, if we have a development, testing, quality, some other these kind of environments, so for that we can go with the development environment settings. And how it works, I will explain you. Okay, so what exactly this script is? One script, multiple tuning changes. Okay, so with the help of one script, when you execute it, it set the multiple tuning parameters for your WebSphere. It adjusts common performance related settings such as, so this we have discussed so far as well, that when we talk about the performance tuning, there are certain critical subsystems there we focus more, because which participate almost 90% in terms of the performance tuning and troubleshooting. Okay, so what are all those areas and what are the important parameters that is going to be set by this particular script for your environment, that is related with your JVM heap recommendations, your thread pool, connection pool, session settings, web container rate parameter, cache rated settings, and messaging transport setting. This is something different which we have not discussed so far. Okay, so this we cover in more detail in the next session. What is means of transport, what are the different parameters that we can set with the help of transport settings. Okay, so overall these parameters, where these parameters are contributing, is very simple. You have a WebSphere which is connecting to your database. Okay, and then you have a web server in front, and then you have a user which is connecting to the application. So this is where we have seen in the very first session, right? So here in the WebSphere we have a multiple application servers for the high availability. So this JVM heap recommendations is for your application servers. Thread pool is again for your application servers, and along with that multiple subsystems are there, which is where we tune the thread settings. Connection pool, your WebSphere is going to connect to the database, so where we have some ready to use connections like the 50. Okay, so this tuning of this connection pool according to the different requirements. Then you have a different sessions. So when applications are connect to the WebSphere, it creates the sessions. Okay, so there is a tuning for the sessions. Web container, so each and every WebSphere server or each and every application server has a web container as well, right? Because it processes the web request as well. So there are certain settings for the web container. Then we use a caching to improve the overall performance of your request. Okay, for increase the performance of your sessions. So we tune the cache, and then we have the transport. So these are the different areas. Okay, where we have a multiple parameters that is automatically set by this particular script, and you can open this particular script, okay, or the template file, and you can check what is the values it is going to set for each and every environment, and that is also a good starting point for you to understand what are the values, what are the parameters that we actually use for the tuning specifically for all these sub areas. Okay, now how it works is very simple. This script use template file. Okay, so as I said, we have the development environment, production environment, and immediate use template. These three categories we have discussed so far, right? So for each and every category we have a template file. We have a template file. Okay, and this template file contain each and every parameter and the corresponding value. So if it is a development environment template, the parameter value will be different. If it is a production or maybe some immediate or use template, then the value will be different. So parameter, you will see some different parameters for different templates according to the environments, and the corresponding value will be different. Okay, so the name of template, what is the name of official template in the WebSphere is development template, default template, and the peak template. So this peak template means for the production. If you are running this particular script for tuning your WebSphere, and which is the environment which is designed for a production, so you have to use the peak template. If you are on the non-production development, if you install for some other demo and testing purpose, for learning purpose, you can go with the default setting, that is more than sufficient. So development is best for development testing environments, default is for normal operations, peak is for busy production environment. Okay, so in development load level will be low, default the medium, and the peak the load will be very high. Okay, so when we talk about the risks, it's very lowest in the development, safe in the default, but in the production environment you always need the monitoring, because the performance tuning is a continuous process. okay, because your load get increased, your user base get increased with the time, okay. There are a lot of software that get upgraded, there your operating system get upgraded. So performance tuning is a continuous process that you have to always monitor and do the continuously along with the time. Okay, so this is a script and I have pasted a small portion of the script here. So just to show you the template. So here you can see we have a default template, peak template, development template. So we have these three template, okay, and these three template we have to assign when we are going to run this particular script with the help of WebSphere admin script. So we have a, WSA admin command line utility from the WebSphere, right? So we can use that particular utility to run this script, and as an argument we provide this particular template. So this is a screenshot of the location, okay, where we have the different template files. So you can see here, this is the default.props, this is the development.props, this is peak.props. So these three files contain the different parameters and the corresponding values according to the different environments, okay. And this is a small screenshot of one of the template file. So here if you see that the properties, if I talk about properties, initial heap size 50, default 50, what would be the generic JVM argument, what would be the maximum heap size, what would be the garbage collection, okay. And similarly you will see the multiple different parameters, okay, and these parameters will automatically apply. You don't need to worry about that one. It is predefined template, predefined values from the IBM. You just need to run the scripts according to your environment and the values will automatically get configured, right. So now hope it is very clear to you what is the inbuilt script, what is the purpose of that, how to run it, what are the different files it call, what are the different templates, what are the different kind of a set of values that is defined, predefined in these templates, okay. So now in the next session we will see the complete end-to-end execution, what are the different templates, how we execute it for different environments, and how to validate all these values.